Now, let's bring you the latest from the Israel-Hamas war, because we do understand that the biggest hospital in the Gaza Strip and another with children on life support is coming under Israeli bombardment. That is coming from the World Health Organization. 20 hospitals in Gaza are now out of action entirely.
That's right, there's a warning here for medical aid for Palestinians, warning of an imminent threat against hospitals in the northern part of Gaza. It's a real worry, and we're not sure.
Well, let's talk to Eylon Levy to get more on this. Eylon is a spokesperson for the Israeli government. Good afternoon to you, Eylon. Can you shed any light on this about the hospitals that are being hit by these airstrikes, children on life support coming under bombardment?
First of all, I should say there is no reason for civilians, much less children, still to be in northern Gaza. It's been 28 days now since Israel started urging people in northern Gaza to evacuate to the south temporarily for their safety. And the reason is that Hamas has embedded itself deep under civilian areas, under schools, under people's homes. We found a tunnel shaft under a child's bed, and Hamas's main headquarters is located underneath the Shifa hospital. It's in the basement of the Shifa hospital. So we've been urging them for a month to get out of harm's way. For 6 days now, we've been securing a humanitarian corridor in order for people to be able to leave. We're glad that most of the people in northern Gaza have gotten out of the way, and we're calling on all the civilians who are still in northern Gaza. It's still a small minority. Please get out of the way. Evacuate to the south temporarily for your safety until it's safe to go back. Hamas's whole strategy is based around human shields. It's about hiding underneath civilians, just like their main headquarters are located underneath the hospital. We want civilians out of the way so we can face Hamas man to man and make them pay for the massacre of October 7th.
Eylon, I just wonder, though, when you do have children on life support, babies on incubators, how easy is it to move them?
We have no doubt that it is very difficult to evacuate a civilian population, but it is preferable to evacuate them than to leave them in a war zone. Unfortunately, Hamas declared war on us on October 7th with that horrific massacre. We wish we weren't in this situation. We didn't want this war. We didn't start this war. We didn't expect this war, but Hamas has dragged us into it, and it is fighting us out of densely populated urban areas. And it's important for us because we know that Hamas is a terror regime that explicitly uses people as human shields. We're doing everything we can to get civilians out of harm's way. It is, of course, a war crime for Hamas to use medical units like hospitals in order to shield their military targets. And we think that if the international community were doing its job, it would be helping us with these evacuation efforts to get civilians out of harm's way instead of increasing obstacles and keeping civilians in the line of fire where Hamas is able to use them as human shields in this despicable, evil manner.
Eylon, we're hearing a lot about these 4-hour pauses in northern Gaza, allowing, as you say, people to flee the hostilities. When is the next one, or is one underway now?
It's underway right now. For day 6 in a row, Israel has been facilitating a humanitarian corridor. It's open from 9 o'clock this morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's 7 hours, not 4. And this is an area that Israeli soldiers are actively securing. Just a few days ago, our troops came under attack from Hamas. Hamas terrorists fired mortars at our soldiers who are helping civilians get out of harm's way, physically interposing themselves between the terrorists and the humans they're trying to use as human shields. And we're urging everyone, please get out of the way. We don't want you to be in harm's way because the fighting where Hamas has embedded itself in civilian areas is going to get brutal.
But Eylon, to talk to Pippa's point there, if is a baby in hospital in an incubator, how can they possibly be moved in these periods these pauses you're describing?
We know that this is very difficult. Israel also has its own internally displaced person problem. By the way, we have 250,000 evacuees, 250,000 people who've been forced to flee their homes, including elderly people, including sick people. I'll tell you something else. It was just 2 weeks since a Hamas rocket hit the Barzilai hospital in Ashkelon. It hit the maternity ward. Do you know why no one was killed in that attack? because we had preactively taken the baby incubators and put them in the basement of the hospital to keep them safe. That's something they can't do in Gaza because the basement of the Shifa hospital is Hamas's headquarters. So if they can't put the baby incubators in the basement because that is where Hamas is hiding, we're asking them to get out of harm's way. Again, we know it's difficult, but it's preferable to being in an active war zone where Hamas has dragged Israel into this war with the October 7th massacre. And I should add, because this is evading coverage, 9,500 rockets on our cities in the last month, including a massive barrage at Tel Aviv in just the last hour. I had to run to a rocket shelter just in the last hour from those rockets.
But maybe some might suggest the difference is that in Israel, people are not penned in, Eylon, like they are in Gaza.
Well, we're asking them to evacuate to the south for their safety. We want them to get out of harm's way because northern Gaza is where Hamas has spent 16 years building a terror state, where it has built tunnel shafts that literally open underneath children's bedrooms.
But you cannot assure people that the south is 100% safe, though, can you? Nowhere in Gaza is safe, according to people that live there.
Unfortunately, Hamas has spent the last 16 years fighting out of densely populated urban areas, and we think it is despicable that they've put civilians in harm's way like that. That's why we're continuing to go after Hamas to destroy its terror state, to make sure it can terrorize our people no longer, to end its reign of terror inside Gaza. And we're doing everything we can to keep civilians out of harm's way because we don't want them to be hurt. This is not a war with the Palestinian people. It is a war with Hamas. The same Hamas that declared war on us with the October 7th massacre. That's the evil terror regime we plan to destroy. That's the terror state we plan to dismantle.
Can I just ask you as well about the latest situation regarding the hostages? 240 hostages, we understand, held by Hamas. There is a suggestion that two of them could be released. One of them, a 12-year-old boy called Yagel Kharkov, could be released due to health reasons.
Israeli society is worried sick at the moment about the fate of the 240 hostages. We're talking about over 30 children, not just that one child, over 10 children under the age of 5. There are children there who are literally orphaned because Hamas murdered their parents in front of them and snatched them from their arms. There's a 10-month-old baby in there, and we're doing everything we can to get them back safe. We're demanding their immediate and unconditional return. And one of the things we're doing to try to get them safe is to continue to put pressure on Hamas and Islamic Jihad. These are evil terrorist organizations that burned, butchered, raped, beheaded, tortured, and mutilated these hostages' friends, neighbors, and family on October 7th. We know we're dealing with an evil, despicable enemy, and we're putting pressure on them because we don't expect them to suddenly become nice and give us our hostages back.
Is there movement, Eylon? Can you tell me specifically if there's movement on the release of two Israeli hostages that's pictures of whom are on the front pages of one of our papers today? Hannah Katzia, 77 years old, and Yagel Yaakov. It is suggested they could be released for health reasons.
We very much hope that Hamas and the Islamic Jihad will release all of our hostages for health reasons or not for health reasons, but unfortunately I can't comment on any sensitive discussions that may be taking place around the hostage issue. OK, well, we really appreciate your time talking to us this afternoon on TV News. Eylon Levy, spokesperson for the Israeli government. Thank you.